So yesterday I watched An American in Paris, the 1951 film that won the 1952 Oscar for Best Picture. It's a musical film starring Gene Kelly. It is, I think, one of Gene Kelly's most celebrated performances. This and Singing in the Rain are generally regarded as his best films. I had seen Singing in the Rain before, I had not seen An American in Paris before, and I did enjoy it. It's exceedingly lightweight, but it is very funny. The script is really quite witty, very enjoyable. It was written by Alan J. Lerner, although strangely the songs in the film were not written by Lerner. They were written by Ira and George Gershwin, and it was originally inspired by a song by Gershwin, a classical musical piece called An American in Paris. So um, that's where the title comes from. That's where the feel of the film comes from. What is the story? The story is there is an American living in Paris. He was a GI, and then he was, you know, he left the army when the war ended, and he decided to stay in Paris because he liked it. He's a painter now. He's not having a lot of success as a painter until one day an extremely rich woman decides that she wants to buy some of his paintings, which he is immediately suspicious. He's not that great at selling his own work, shall we say. This exceedingly rich woman buys two of his paintings, and also it seems wants to set up a sort of weird, perhaps sexual, perhaps romantic, patron artist relationship. She sort of seems to be quite controlling and manipulative. Also, at the same time, this American painter meets a French girl and immediately falls for her, not knowing that she is already dating one of his friends, or I don't know if they're friends, or someone he knows. Um, and she is sort of into the American painter, although at first she's definitely not into him. We'll discuss that in a second. And but she's also sort of into this other guy she's dating. The other guy she's dating is a music hall singer, very celebrated French voice. And also there is another character called Adam, who is a songwriter and incredibly talented concert pianist. And yeah, well, his main thing is that he knows both the painter and the music hall singer, and he's the only one who realizes that they are in love with the same woman. Um, Although he doesn't realize that until quite late into the film. There's not really a lot of plot. It's mostly an excuse for the musical numbers and the dance sequences, which admittedly are terrific. This film became briefly relevant a couple of years ago because the 2016 film La La Land homaged its ending, and we'll talk about that later because that has a few spoilers attached, which I want to talk about. But yes, I did enjoy this film. The dancing is terrific. You really can't fault Gene Kelly for his dancing ability, and his singing is very nice, and his acting is fairly good, although he is very goofy. Um, he gets these faces when he's dancing, which he's sort of an indefatigable vaudevillian. So he's a pleasure to watch. Um, Also, the woman who plays Lisa, whose name escapes me, I think it's Karen, something Karen. She is also fantastic. She is just terrific. Like her dancing is incredible. I mean, the way that woman can move is amazing. She's introduced in a sequence where she does five different dance styles, sort of showing the way that the men in her life describe her. She's very spiritual. She's very modern. She's very refined. She's very open, and she's doing all these different dancing. And wow, the way she moves, it is incredibly impressive. And also, the songs are very nice. They're very well performed. There's especially brilliant sequence with Adam, the concert pianist, performing a song in his head, and he is making up the entire orchestra and also the conductor and also the audience, and it's all just him playing all the different instruments at once, using split screen effects. And the way he's playing the piano, I'm amazed he doesn't break something, either the piano itself or his fingers, because he is going hell for leather, and it's incredible to watch. It's joyous. I don't know if that sequence is specifically referenced in Bugs Bunny cartoons, or if the Bugs Bunny cartoons I'm thinking of and that sequence are both referencing something else that I have not seen. But yes, I've definitely seen that kind of that scene before with the just incredibly incredibly enthusiastic conductor and the orchestra players just going all in. But it's wonderful. It's a lovely film. It is extremely slight. There aren't really many themes. There aren't really. Um, I mean, there are themes, sort of. I guess alienation. You could kind of sort of say exoticization. The very title suggests a certain amount of outsider feeling, but there's not a lot of that. It's mostly just dancing and singing and nice backdrops of Paris. Although, amazingly, for a film about how lovely Paris is, there is almost nothing to do with the Eiffel Tower. I don't remember seeing it in the film. I mean, maybe it's in a couple of shots, but they don't go to the Eiffel Tower, they don't have a conversation in front of the Eiffel Tower, which is incredible to me. Um, but it does look lovely the whole time. It's very well directed, and there's this lovely kind of light whimsy that permeates the entire thing, and that is just terrific. Um, there are some. The script is very funny. My favorite line was Adam is describing himself, and like you finally see him on camera, and he goes, "Yes, that's my face. Might not be much to look at, but beneath that ugly mop is an abundant lack of character." I did laugh at that. I did think that was funny. Um, he is incredibly deadpan, that character, and apparently that is just what that actor was famous for. He was he's apparently like a genius musician, genius entertainer, genius wit, who is also in An American in Paris, and is apparently basically playing himself. Fine, does it very well. Um, but there are some weird bits in the script. For example, when Gene Kelly's character is introduced, he goes, "Oh, I have lots of friends in Paris." And then he goes, "Oh, there are some of them now." And the camera just pans to three children and they're all waving at him. And he's like, "Yes, I've got lots of friends." And I mean, are all your friends under 11 years old? That's a bit creepy, Mr. Kelly. Slightly odd. Also, as someone who makes his living teaching English abroad and who has taught English in France previously, I would love to find the section of France where children are just on the street clamoring for English lessons, because that was not my experience. um, that was not how I remember living in France being. Maybe I should have just been in Paris. Maybe it's just Picardy. Picardy with its lack of dance numbers and reticent students. Um, but it is a wonderful film. It is very entertaining. I didn't know anything going in about it, but you don't need that level of secrecy. Like, you don't watch this film for its plot twists. Um, it's yeah, it's a very straightforward film. You know what you're getting. I did enjoy it. I did laugh. I did like the musical numbers. I definitely think it would work better on stage. There is a stage adaptation now, and frankly, that's probably where it belongs. Um, but no, it is very very enjoyable. Although I do want to talk about the problematic content. So Gene Kelly meets this girl Lise, and she has a boyfriend. She's seeing someone, and she tells Gene Kelly to go away. She doesn't want to talk to him. He's very insistent. He makes up a lie about already knowing her so that she has to dance with him. And she tells him she doesn't want to dance with him. This is another great line where he sort of takes her away from her friends, and she goes, "Oh, I want to go back to my friends." He's like, "Oh, I thought I was rescuing you. You look so bored." And she says, "You should see me now," which is a sign, Gene Kelly, to leave her alone. And then he gets her phone number through trickery, and also her father is an idiot. He asks for her phone number. She deliberately gives him the wrong phone number, and then her father is like, "Oh, darling, you got your phone number wrong." Bad, bad dad. Just let her get rid of him. And then he shows up at her work. She tells him to go away. He doesn't. And then she goes, "Well, if nothing else, you're persistent. I guess I'd better go out with you." I mean, he does make her laugh once, but it still is. Yeah, like she tells you to go. Also, he even says like, "If you told me to go away, I wouldn't have." No, leave her alone. If she tells you to go away, go. Um, and yeah, that's that's really creepy. Also, what's really annoying is so there is a female character who I mentioned, sort of Gene Kelly's patron, who is presented as being very controlling and jealous. And her behavior is despicable. Her behavior is portrayed as being awful. Everyone's just like, "God, I can't believe she treats you like that. You shouldn't allow that." Whereas Gene Kelly's behavior towards Lise is absolutely fine. It's very blatant double standard, and it is very, very troublesome. Um, and it's a shame because, to be honest, I mean, I do think that the way the art patron treats him is bad. I do. But I also think the way he treats Lise is bad. So they just changed it so that his courtship of Lise was entirely consensual on her part. That would be fine. Then you just be like, yeah, the art patron is kind of controlling, and that's kind of weird, and you wouldn't have anything to be like. But also, Gene Kelly is weird, so sticks and like glass houses. Um, Also, sorry, this just brought up something else. There is a weird thing with ages in this film. So Gene Kelly is just introduced as like happy-go-lucky American painter, not a care in the world. And then the French musical singer is introduced, and he's like, "Oh, I'm a little bit old, but I'm not that old." Um, and we see him, and he's not old at all. He is, in fact, 3 years younger than Gene Kelly. Um, and so when it's presented as like Lise sort of fell in love with this man when she was a young person and she was a child and she didn't know any better. Um, I mean, he's younger than Gene Kelly, so if you're trying to play the age difference as strange, Gene Kelly's age difference is even stranger. Also, the art patron, who I think is meant to be implied to be old. I mean, they don't really discuss it, but like she has lots of old friends, and the way she acts towards Gene Kelly, it's kind of a bit Mrs. Robinson. But she is 12 years younger than Gene Kelly, and yet again, she does not look old. So I don't really know what was going on with that. Um, it's a weird theme. I can't even say that it's bad because none of it is really ever made explicit. It's just odd. you feel that something bad is probably happening, but you can't really call out exactly what. Now I want to get to the spoiler part. So if you haven't seen An American Paris and you care about spoilers, please stop listening. Otherwise, spoilers from here on out. So the film ends with a very long, drawn out, mm, or quarter of an hour ballet sequence, which it all happens entirely inside Gene Kelly's head. And it's sort of a tribute to French culture and French paintings. It's all very pretty, and the dancing is exquisite, and it looks great, and it's fantastic. And it's also entirely pointless. So this sequence happens just after Lise has decided to go with the music hall singer and not Gene Kelly. She's left with the music hall singer in a car. She's going to get married, and they're going to fly to America the next day. And Gene Kelly will never see her again. And Gene Kelly puts forward his suit, and Lise turns him down. And Gene Kelly goes into this reverie, this dance sequence with all this tributes to French culture. And as I said, it's very beautiful and it's very impressive, but it doesn't really say all that much. Lise is in some of the dance sequences, appearing as this kind of, as well as multiple different characters, this kind of unattainable, waifish thing that Gene Kelly wants. Sometimes she is with him, sometimes she's not. So obviously it's about his desire for her, but there's very little that's explicitly about their relationship. And then it is made doubly pointless because immediately after the reverie scene, Lise comes back and has just decided to be with Gene Kelly and not Music Hall Guy. And that would be okay if the dance sequence was shorter, I think, but dedicating so much time to something that is not really concretely related to what's going on in the narrative anyway, and also that you immediately undo the dramatic tension of. I think personally is the wrong choice. I think Lise should have just left. Ballet dream sequence. End. Ends on a sad note. That's life. This is honestly, I feel, La La Land, which was called out for ripping off the ending of this film. I feel La La Land did that sequence better because, yet again, spoilers, if you haven't seen La La Land, please stop listening. Because in La La Land, they have this long, drawn out end sequence with the dream, but all the sequences relate to developments in the plot of La La Land, they all call back to specific scenes, and B, the emotional weight is not undone immediately. Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone don't get together in the end, and I honestly just think that is a better way to use that dream dance sequence idea. It shows what could have been rather than what is. And what could have been in your mind is always so lovely, and there are never any bumps in the road, but it can't be like that. And I honestly just think that's a stronger thematic use. I know that's going to get a lot of. I know that opinion is probably not very popular because I think this film is held in better regard than La La Land, and certainly the dancing and singing in An American Paris are better than the dancing and singing in La La Land. I like La La Land a lot, but Gene Kelly was, the master of American screen dancing for a reason. The long cuts of him just dancing are phenomenal, and that's what this film really exists to demonstrate, and it does that beautifully. So gripes aside, it is a fantastic film, and I would highly recommend it just for an easy watch with some nice choreography, some witty one-liners, and beautiful art design. Yep, I would say check it out. Okay,